Hello and welcome to the Happy PharmD podcast. No time for the introduction. We got to get straight into this because I've got a juicy interview for you. It's so good that this is, I know I'm living in the present, but this has got to be my favorite one. I've said that about other ones, but this is one of the good ones. It's so good because Lauren Castle is with me and she shares everything that's been happening to her up to this moment, from being forced to quit her regular pharmacy job to how she built up her Functional Medicine Pharmacy Alliance organization, and about what exciting things they are doing next to help pharmacists not only practice functional medicine within pharmacy, but also learning how to create their own businesses. Lauren is a dear friend of mine, and you got to hear this. I mean, it is wild what Lauren has gone through. So let's go to it. Let's go. Stop wasting time, Alex. Let's go. Hey, Lauren.
Hey, Alex.
What a invigorating podcast start that we will never publish to the world. We let all of our dirty laundry hang out and call out people's names, but it's never going to get aired. What a great way to start this conversation. So thank you for getting me livid before we talk about your story. Before we jump into it, for anyone that doesn't know who you are, I want to set the stage in the best way that I think I can so that people know you're going to tell your story, and we're going to dive into some really deep stuff about how a company forced you to quit your job, about how they built you up and let you down, and about how you're really sticking to your values. And I'm so excited that you are brave enough to share it. But it's one thing, I think, to hear from another person what they think about a person, because it's one thing to claim, I'm an expert about careers. Well, what do people say about you? And what I say about you, Lauren, is that you are someone who is willing to call people out, and you really care about others. Back when I started the Happy PharmD, when we first started even engaging, like I didn't really know you. We had maybe one or two conversations. I had started a partnership with someone who I thought was going to ultimately help me in my business. But you had revealed some things that were public knowledge to me and were putting into question whether I was really on board with this partnership. You didn't have to do that for me. You didn't have to say that to me at all. You could have just let me go on in that partnership for who knows how long. And you realized how I was hurting my own public integrity by doing that. And I am eternally grateful for that hard conversation that you initiated. I don't know if you thought it was a difficult conversation, but ever since you've done that, I've been a huge fan of you and everything that you do. So thank you for being a friend.
Thank you, Alex. It's interesting when I reminisce back on that conversation that we had, because I vividly remember, actually, pretty sure I was grocery shopping in Walmart, like as I was having the conversation on the phone, and also talking to some other parties on the other side of this whole thing that was going on back in the early days of like pharmacy career, internet business, online business stuff, right? Before it was like the norm. And every pharmacist has an online business, as they should. But yeah, it just, to me, I genuinely believe that people wake up every day wanting to make the world a better place for the most part. There's some people in the world that might not be the case for, but most pharmacists decided to become pharmacists because they want to help other people. And so I think sometimes we get lost along the way a little bit in how we can best do that. And sometimes other motives come into play. but it's all about integrity. It's all about coming back to what are we really here to do? So,
And one day I'll reveal it all. I'll do a tell all and it will be juicy. I still get messages of people wondering about that person. And I still have conversations with people who are about to join partnerships, and I say, well, watch out. I've had that for years now. So anyways, that's not why you're here. You're here to tell your story. And I think it's so powerful because today of this recording is the day when all of the pharmacists, not all, but many pharmacists in retail chains across the country are walking out on the job. And you you could say you walked out on your own, but really you were forced to quit your job over what you believe and what you're doing with your alliance. And I'd love to hear what in the world happened. How did we get here? So first, I think it would be great to kind of at least set the stage of what was your position? What were you doing before you had received this letter from your employer?
yeah. So at the time, whenever I left my employment, I had been with the company for 12 years. And for anyone who knows me, knows that my plan was to retire from this company. I wanted my gold badge. I wanted to be a door greeter when I was 70. Like,
Really?
for real.
You'd be
Like,
good at it. I can see that.
it's the best job in the world, right? Like you literally get to just be the friendly face and like help people with some directions and yeah,
Yeah.
it's like such a great thing and that I mean that was truly my goal. Like I had this plan and this vision that I was going to stay there for my entire life.
Mm.
And whenever I had to face the reality that that might not be possible, I take that back. It would be possible. I could have chosen that reality, but it would have had to have mean I would be giving up my organization or at least divesting myself from FMPhA, going through all of the legal loops and processes to have any affiliation with it and have that affiliation be governed by another organization that I was working for. But also to not be able to speak about health and wellness or functional medicine or, heaven forbid, psychedelics in a public forum
Uh,
because somehow or another, even as a lowly part-time hourly pharmacist, aka PRN pharmacist, working 1 or 2 shifts a month, I had become a person of influence that could influence buyers, suppliers, customers, other
ooh.
employees. And the type of things that I was talking about were both too similar in nature to my role as a pharmacist and also contradicting my role as a pharmacist.
So what is the belief? Like, I want to spoil it. What is the incriminating thing that you believe about health and health care that would be considered a threat by your employer?
You know, in my eyes, I don't see any of this as a threat. If I were a business and I were the Fortune number one company in the world, I would be utilizing all of these things to the benefit of the company, the shareholders, and the employees, right? Which is
Sure.
that we can create health through our lifestyle, through the food that we eat, through exercise and movement, through stress management. And guess what? As a company, we sell all of these products to support you in that journey. And we could even have our own employees be the voice to spread that message for us, and that it might benefit them too.
But you're a dreamer, and that's not what they believed.
Nope. They believed that I was doing all of this work for my own benefit, that it was taking away from my role, that it was potentially benefiting me more than it would benefit them.
Mm-hmm.
And that ultimately it was just simply a conflict of interest, that the roles were too similar in nature. And so I had to make a choice.
And to clarify, your role as founder and CEO of Functional Medicine Pharmacists Alliance isn't actually providing healthcare to anyone.
Correct. But
Right.
I was informed that education on health-related topics, be it to a patient or a fellow pharmacist, was still a conflict of interest, according
Oh, okay.
to the statement of ethics.
So because you're a pharmacist working for a major retailer, you were in trouble because you were teaching people actively how to take better care of their health.
Essentially, yes.
Okay.
And I'll be the first to admit that, the question really is, how did this all come up in the first place? Like just out of the blue, when really I had gotten permission in writing 3 years prior, before I even started the actual business for FMPhA. I had been part of the influencer program and actually led the program for the company that encouraged employees to talk about their role at the company publicly on their own social media platforms. But that, like we said, maybe I'm a little bit of a dreamer. Maybe I'm a little bit further ahead on the curve than the company was ready for. And at the end of the day, when you're an at-will employee, you have to accept that, right? Like if they're going to walk things back, or if they're going to say your role changed, which is true, your organization has clearly changed, which is also true.
Yeah.
They're not wrong. But I can also, again, be in my own integrity and say that I'm not wrong either. So when you have two parties that genuinely have their different sides of the same coin, you kind of just have to do what's best for you. And for me, that looked like leaving.
So they gave you basically an ultimatum. Either you can continue working as a hourly pharmacist at this location, but in order for you to do that, you have to quit your business, quit your
Divest.
group. You could have sold it and given it to someone else and kept your job.
Mm-hmm.
That was one option.
Yep.
Or you can quit.
Yeah. And for me, I really walked that idea through. I really entertained the idea of, I have this vision for what the future of pharmacy could look like. And the reason that I joined this company in the first place was because I wanted to change the world. And what better place to do that than the world's largest company, right? And so I considered, would letting go of FMPhA be in service of a greater vision and plan? But I also recognized that that would entail a lot more personal sacrifice along the way, right? Even if we waved a magic wand and said, okay, Lauren, you're now going to be the chief wellness officer or chief functional medicine officer for said company. What does your life look like?
Sure.
Are you ready to relocate your family and live in a different state? Are you ready to go back to working 40 plus hours a week at a job, dealing with emails and managing a team and being in that type of corporate environment, is that the life that you want? And for me, whenever I finally made that decision, this was August of 2023, I'd stepped down to being a part-time hourly pharmacist, and I was in Costa Rica on a retreat weighing this decision.
Mm.
And that's when I just realized that I wouldn't be able to have this other life and be able to travel and be able to go to ceremonies or, do whatever it is that I wanted to do and be able to get on a podcast and talk about it when I came home, right? I'd have to give
Yeah.
all of that up too. And so for me, as much as I want to change the world, and I thought that was the path to do it, I couldn't continue to sacrifice myself in the process. So here we are.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with a business changing its approach or getting more in touch with its values. After all, that's practically what happened to you. You got really in touch with what you believe and how you want to live your life. And this ultimatum forced you to really see your values face to face. And why I actually love, I'm very blessed to say, I think, yeah, you and I spoke when they gave you the ultimatum and you were just about to go to Costa Rica, right? I think that's the timing.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being outside in my backyard going, what? What?
Yeah.
What? And I remember sharing it with my privately in our coach Slack channel because I remember asking your permission because I was like, this is insane. This is crazy. And I'm very glad to see that you leaned into what you believe. You know, I think golden handcuffs is a really common term for us in pharmacy. I think people have heard it before. The idea that we're handcuffed to our very well-paying, great jobs to work in an unspecific amount of time so that we can pay off our houses or our college debt. And I wonder if there's something, a new term here that maybe I can coin, but something like a value handcuff, where not only are we handcuffed to the amount of money that we make, but we're handcuffed to a system that we don't really believe in. And we're prisoners of something that we see so many different ways could be better. And yet the system that we're in doesn't allow us to really experiment or grow or change things, which is so sad because initially in your career, you were excelling to great heights in the company, leading programs and experimenting, and they were really building you up to have a potential to change. Really the pharmacy department within the entire company.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes this not a betrayal, but just like, oh,
Yeah.
how could you? You had it within your hand. You had such an amazing pharmacist with a vision and a compelling dream that could have helped millions of people. I don't know if that makes you emotional or go, oh my gosh, what did I just do?
Yeah. It's pretty soul crushing. I mean, I'm sitting here talking about all of this now with a smile on my face, right? But trust me, I grieved this decision for 3 weeks. Longer than that. I mean, it really dragged out for 4 months before I finally made that decision of like, okay, I've chased this thing up as many levels of leadership and had as many different eyes on it as I could. And even in like the last meeting that I had, talking through all of this and trying to find some way that it could all coexist, it was like, yeah, yeah, you did some really cool, amazing things. And a lot of that work is still continuing. Like we see it in, the home office area. Like we've got these healthy meals that are available in some of these stores now. And I was like, yeah, I've seen that too. It's, it's exciting. I really would like to continue to be a part of it, but sometimes I think the lesson in all of this for me is that, you know, we don't know what the universe has in store. We try to control everything. We try to paint this big picture of what our life is going to look like and how it's all going to play out, But sometimes we just have to let it all go. And I think for me, it's like I do still reminisce on the good times that I
Yeah.
had, and I'm forever grateful for so many of the opportunities that I had to do some really cool things. And I also recognize that it just wasn't the right timing, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
like we've kind of talked about this before, but it's like the cool projects I got to do in 2019 and looking at implementing functional medicine at scale in multidisciplinary healthcare teams and implementing healthy cafes in the stores so that associates and people could actually get the healthy food the second that they walk out of an appointment and all of that. We walked right into a pandemic 2 months later. The whole thing would have had to have been shut down, right? So sure, like even back then where it felt like a door was being slammed all because of one leadership change in the company,
Mm.
it wasn't a door closing. It was just simply a detour, right? Hey, guess what? We're going to deal with the pandemic for the next 3 years and your personal life is going to go in a completely different direction. That moment when that project ended was the moment that I started FMPhA as an organization and a business.
Mm.
So it's what you make of the opportunities.
I just decided many things as you shared that. One, I'm going to start using you as a case study for teaching.
As
So
you should.
there's so many good lessons here. One lesson that I learned from your story is you have found your passion, your vision, and potentially your strength when you start doing something outside of your job. Um, when your job shuts you down, when you're not able to go forth with your passion, your curiosity, your learning, if all of those things are absent from your job and yet you still have them, you're going to go do it on your own,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah.
because that's what creates life for you. And I think that's beautiful because now that's exactly what you're doing. But I'll edit this out later, but I'll explain a little bit in the intro, like how you rose up to executive level heights for this experiment, so that I don't have to get into the context of it for this question. Um, but your rise in your career with this company, it kind of reminds me of like a dysfunctional relationship from your early 20s.
Mm.
Like you found this great person, you fell in love, you want to be with them forever, you want to start a family and grow old and get gold stars, and you start to get to know them and things are really exciting and you start doing things together and you feel like this other person, company, is lifting you up and they're letting you exercise so much of what makes you you, your strengths, your passions, your values even. I mean, who would have thought that a major retail pharmacy would have allowed you to even practice functional medicine? Something that is quite honestly, and from my perspective, in stark uh, 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 contrarian viewpoint of how to take care of yourself compared to what most medicines do for us, kind of just maintain the disease, right? Not cure anything. And slowly but surely, you see that the other person loses their commitment to you. or that it wasn't really there to begin with. And so this executive level position that you had for a short time where you were experimenting with how to use functional medicine and have it integrate was amazing, but their commitment to it wasn't there. And slowly but surely, you put yourself in positions where it didn't involve your strengths, your passions, your curiosities, your values. And potentially rightly so. We were in the middle of a pandemic. We all knew that it was going to be a first season. It wasn't going to be forever. And we can all suffer through something traumatic and hard for a time. But the longer that time went on after that pandemic, I see this gap within you where what you believe, who you are, was getting wider and wider and wider between your company.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of reasons for that gap. But even the wording you said when they gave you this ultimatum, the wording about like, I wanted to make this work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I can relate. Before I quit my very secure government job where I got along with my colleagues, my bullies were no longer present. I had a pension, great 401k, great benefits. I wanted to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
But they just wouldn't let me. They
Yeah.
wouldn't work with me as they didn't with you.
Yep.
How do you feel about perhaps bridging that gap now between who you are and what you get to do?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we're about a month out in the full-time entrepreneurship journey. And it's been a roller coaster. I would
sorry, that
totally,
it doesn't stop.
yeah, it's like I'd be lying if I was like, oh, it's great. I'm living my dream every day. It's, sunshine and rainbows.
Right.
There's been
I
some
don't have
really
anyone to report to. I don't have to listen to the man anymore. Yeah, it's not that.
It's life, and now it's like it's
Yeah.
life on your own terms. And so, I posted on LinkedIn a couple weeks ago, that it's like lesson number 1 is I'm a way harder boss to work for than anybody else, But on the same time, it's like I can turn that right back around, right? It's like, yes, we can be our own worst critic, but we're also in complete control, and like we're in control of our thoughts, and you can change your thoughts. And so I feel like the process of being an entrepreneur and growing a business, it's all just a journey of self-discovery. And like, how do you wake up and start designing this life to support this business to then help other people in the world? It's all so interconnected, and every day is just a new day to pick back up and start something different, right?
You talk about the chaos that exists with freedom. But to dig a little deeper, what does it mean to you that now you can fully devote yourself to what you believe?
It's exciting, and it's moments like this where I get to come on a podcast and just speak from my heart with a dear, dear friend, and realize that, yeah, like this is exactly the life that I wanted to create, and that I want for other people to be able to find as well, that freedom really is priceless.
You mentioned, I think briefly, the idea of that this is a journey. And I think it's a beautiful analogy, but so hard to really accept that it's not a destination. It never is.
Mhm.
Um, my brain does a wonderful job at trying to convince me all the time that once I do this, once I complete this, and once I do this, then I'll never, ever have any problems. But it's a journey. And I think you beautifully said that, or hinted at the idea that anyone that tells you that they've got the plan, they've got it all together, they're just coming up with it.
Yeah.
There's definitely people out there who've got a lot of insight and wisdom and knowledge. Absolutely. And you can learn a ton. It's why I have a coach now. But now that you're on the journey, what do you wish you could go back in time and tell yourself? Not to like avoid the pains that you've gone through, because imagine that they all are going to happen. I think sometimes we think, oh, if I go back in time, then I'd love to skip this awful relationship or this divorce or this firing or whatever, but more along the lines of what would have helped you during these hard times, to the Lauren who was riding the high of creating her own functional medicine program within a major retail pharmacy.
Yeah. Oh man. I think about that version of Lauren a lot.
Yeah.
Because like you said, it really is a journey. And that was, for me, that was the start of the journey. Not so much, with functional medicine. Like that journey technically started in 2015 when my husband was having health issues and we learned about a functional medicine center in Michigan. And like that was the start of that journey, right? But 2019, at the peak of that career experience, again, like the 2015 Lauren could have never imagined the 2019 Lauren would have gone from just discovering functional medicine to leading a functional medicine initiative for the largest company in the world. That would have never translated or computed. Yeah. And likewise, from 2019 Lauren, where now my whole world felt like it was crashing down and every dream was being shattered. You couldn't have told me then that, oh, it's okay. 4 years from now, you're going to leave that company. You're going to be running your Pharmacists Alliance and going off to be a part owner of a retreat center in Costa Rica. So, oh, and by the way, in between that, you're going to lose your mom, right? Like that's the part of life that we tend to forget whenever we get really in the career journey and in the work. And, I think that would have been the lesson out of all of it. That would have been the lesson that I would have said, hey, put your family first. You're not going to have forever with them, but you'll always have your career. You'll always have more opportunities to do cool things in the world, to make more money, to go on more conference trips, right? But like, you're never going to get these moments back.
How has your mom influenced you to where you are today?
So specifically in losing my mom and how that has influenced where I am today, losing a parent, particularly at a young age. My mom was only 59 when she passed. It just really shakes you to your core. Like there's no way to explain it if you've never lost a direct family member in that way. To me, it was really what began my own like conscious awakening. is the best way I can explain it. And there was little bits and pieces of it. Like it's all been this like golden thread through the whole journey and the career and the Walmart stuff. And oops, I said Walmart, but yeah, I mean, it just makes you realize what's important in life, but not just what's important in life, like what it means to be alive. I find that it's so hard to articulate these things in words unless
you've gone through it.
You've gone through it.
Yeah. Yeah, we both lost a parent about the same time. I think the way I would word my own similar journey is that it puts into question every decision you have made, and not in an intentional way. Not to be like, oh, should I really have bought this house? Oh, should I really have taken that job? It's more like you think about the major things and decisions you've made in your life, and you begin to question and reconnect with, I think, the thing that you want to believe. For me, losing my father helped me reconnect with how I want to work and what do I actually believe about anything, from how the government should rule people to is there a God, to how I should raise my kids. And the loss is so powerful that it is insanely painful, and yet helps you to redefine what you go through, in those moments.
Yeah.
Like you, I think I never had lost someone before losing my dad, which is a great blessing to be. I don't know, I was 33, I think, when I lost him to cancer. And I like how people use the word lost. Like, he's gone. He's in a forest. Cancer made him so crazy. He just walked out into a forest, and we don't know where he is. What the heck happened? Dark humor. I'm not making fun of people who have cancer. Okay, all that out of the way. I gotta preface it that I'm not a comedian, so I gotta be careful with jokes about my dad. But I can relate to what you're describing, because I do feel like the loss drives you to look at, what is my purpose? What do I want from life? Because I will die one day. And those are serious questions I don't think anyone really enjoys thinking about. They're all like, oh yeah, tomorrow I could die, so I better fix that light bulb because my wife won't be able to reach it. And for you, it happened, the honeymoon phase with your partner, your job partner, was over. They didn't want you building out this functional medicine paradise that you could have built. You went back to being market director. You went back to helping people overcome this insane pandemic that was going on. And I remember hearing that you were stepping down. I don't remember when exactly, because my timelines are all messed up around death.
Yeah.
But I remember you doing that for yourself. And that was also, I thought, a really bold move.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was September 12th of 2021 was when my mom passed. And before that point, I had really gotten to my lowest point. I was clinically depressed and anxiety and all the things. I felt like a complete fraud. It was literally the year that I won Industry Leader Award. And I, like, the day that all happened, it's like I had gone and done this whole photo shoot and all of this, had like full hair and makeup done. And I
Within
came
the
back
company, you
home
mean? Like the company gave you this award?
for the Single Care Award. So it was because of my work within the company and the
Oh,
industry, right? It's like I, again, still, even
oh
still, had
man.
like this peak career things going on, and yet on the inside and in the home, things were
Yeah.
just at their absolute lowest that they had been. And it was like within, I think a week later that my mom passed away. And yeah, like my boss had recognized that things were off, and was the one that recommended, hey, use the company provided benefits to take a mental health leave or to take a family leave or to get a free psychiatry appointment and like get some help for yourself.
Yeah.
And so thankfully I was able to do that. And, you know, when mom passed, like it was beautiful. We all got to be there, all of that, and like I was able to just look back on those last 4 years of being a market director and like everything that we had gone through together, because she was there with me every step of the way. We had actually moved her up. The day that I interviewed for that job was the first time that she had to get admitted to the ICU, right? So like they were just intertwined so deeply between my career and my mom.
Yeah.
And yet she was my biggest cheerleader. Like anyone and everyone, she'd be like, "Do you know Dr. Lauren? Because that's my daughter." So, it's like after she passed and I just, I had this hole in my heart, right? And then it became about healing the grief, healing the depression, the anxiety, the burnout, which I've shared about that in other platforms and posts and things like that.
Yeah.
I've written two different book chapters now, so you can go back and read some of the story there as well,
Sure.
which, again, like even the book chapters, those I write in memory to my mom. I've just
Mm.
published one this year on the 2-year anniversary, and we published one last year shortly after. And, each time now it feels like I share a new chapter of my life. And so much of it comes back to what I have learned since she's transitioned and the new relationship that we even have, right? Because, like we were saying, we don't lose our parents, we don't lose our family members and our loved ones whenever they transition from this world to the next and whatever belief system you have. Like we know and we feel their presence in everything that we do. And so I feel like that's where I am now with everything. It's like that was just the beginning of
Mm.
this new journey that I then was started on that I would have never expected. But I think that is what life is about. It's taking these really challenging times and building that resilience so that yes, we feel the grief and we also see what the gift is going to be on the other side of it. Maybe it is having a new appreciation for your own life and thinking differently about the legacy that you want to leave and maybe being a little kinder to the next person that you meet on the street, you know?
I've done a very good job, I think, looking at you instead of looking at my board over to my left, which I just looked at, because there are messages on my board from my past father. Um, I don't know why I said past, but he's dead, and you're right that the love is still there. And that's the hard part about grief, is that your love has nowhere to go now. It can't go to them because they're not physically present. And it sounds like your mother had a lot to be proud of for you. And she should be. You have done a lot, and you're now even continuing to do that through your alliance. There's so much to be excited now because you can dedicate now all of you to the endeavor.
Mm-hmm.
So give us a sneak peek. What's going on? What's so exciting for you? What are you working on?
Yeah, it is exciting. We actually just got back from the 8th annual pharmacy symposium, functional pharmacy symposium, that was in Nashville. Amazing turnout. And that event is always so exciting for me because it was sort of the first place where I was like representing FMPhA, and I had my business cards and everything. And it was also the first place in 2019 when someone was like, "Hey, I want to sign up and become a member." And I realized, oh, I don't have a business yet. Like I can't accept your money right now. Right. So it's like that event just continues to be like such a growth point, not just for me and for FMPhA, but for every pharmacist that goes to it. And so obviously planning the next one for next year. But within the membership, for those of you who aren't a member yet, I would really encourage you to join this year. Specifically, we're offering a lifetime membership right now. And transparently, this idea for lifetime membership was, I want 100 pharmacists who are so gung-ho about functional medicine and believe in this mission and the vision that I have to make functional medicine the standard of care through pharmacist-led clinical services, that they're willing to say, yes, sign me up for the low price of $9.97, and for the rest of my life, I'll never have to pay another penny, but I'm going to be here along for the journey and all of the evolution of what is to come, right? It's like the seed fund for the foundation of FMPhA and where we're going to go from here. And so that would be the first thing I'm really excited about. And the second thing is our bootcamp course. So in January of this year, we launched the first version of the live functional medicine pharmacist bootcamp. We've since run 3 live cohorts and have now transitioned it into an on-demand version. So any pharmacist can join at any time. And it's 6 modules, about 6 hours of video content. We walk you through everything that you need before you spend a penny or a minute elsewhere trying to figure out, how the heck do I get started in functional medicine? I just had someone the other day who took the course and binge watched the whole thing in, one day, and was like, this is the hands down exactly what I needed and the best money I've ever spent on myself. I was feeling so burnt out on the profession and what I was going to do and how I was going to transition and get started with functional medicine. And this has answered everything I didn't know. So bootcamp is definitely something else I'm really excited about. And we're actually doing monthly coaching calls with it. So you sign up for bootcamp now, you get access to the modules, and you get a year of coaching every month along with that. And then the last thing is we are also launching our clinical calls. So with that, we're having a new pharmacist guest speaker every month. Because yes, once you take bootcamp and you have this idea of what type of practice you want to build for yourself, the next question is, okay, how do I continue to strengthen my clinical knowledge and understand how to utilize it as a pharmacist, right? So we're bringing in all of the best pharmacists that are in the functional medicine space that are truly walking the walk and have successful practices and businesses, and giving you an opportunity to hear from them firsthand what their practice looks like and an opportunity to pick their brain, so to speak, right? And so those are going on right now. We just had our first one with Marina. Next month, we're going to be having Jenna Clack in October. So I'm really excited. Jenna and I go way back to the pharmacy school days in NCPA and have since come back into each other's worlds right now. So it's exciting. And yeah, those would be the three things right now. So I will also say, like, if you join as a lifetime member now, you're going to be sort of grandfathered in through all of the existing changes that are coming up in 2024, because we're going to have the annual membership, the business boot camp level of membership, and that clinical level of membership. All three different tiers are going to be an annual price point, right? So if you sign up now as lifetime, you get access to all of them for life. It's truly like the best. So can't wait to see who all is going to join us for that.
That sounds like worthwhile endeavors.
Yeah. Yeah. And the clinical piece I'm honestly most excited about, because for me, when I started FMPhA and specifically landed on the term alliance, which for those of you who don't know, I have Alex to thank for that back in 2017.
Hey, really?
Yes, really. Yes.
Oh.
You know, we had been connected and we were talking about, you know, this idea for functional medicine. I had this Facebook group and I really wanted to create more resources for pharmacists because there weren't any. Like, you would Google, how do I practice functional medicine as a pharmacist? And there was nothing. And the functional medicine organizations themselves really didn't know what to do with pharmacists or what we would be doing on a, you know, care team. And so I just was like, I think I need to create like an organization, but that's crazy. Who creates a pharmacy organization? There's too many of them to begin with. Why do I need to create another one? And you were like, do it. Like, who says you can't create a pharmacy organization? So I was intentional about choosing the term alliance and not just association, because I wanted to bring everyone together. I wanted to bring together the pharmacists, the functional medicine practitioners, the patients, and the organizations, both functional medicine organizations and pharmacy organizations. So it was like this really big, big vision that it's going to take all of us working together in order to make functional medicine just medicine. And so coming back to, you know, this idea of alliance, the boot camp's been amazing because it's been the starting point for so many pharmacists that need to like dip their toe in the water and don't want to spend $20,000 on a certification and not know what to do with it. I raised my hand there. I did a master's, and you don't have to do that. But
sure,
it was really about, how do we bring together not just the beginner pharmacists, but all of the advanced pharmacists too, to bring them together where they can mentor other people and can also continue to grow in their services, right? Because a lot of these practitioners now are becoming so successful that they need to start training up other pharmacists to take on some of the cases for them. So this is where I see the future of functional medicine going, and why, you know, again, today is like such a perfect day for us to be having this conversation, as we literally have pharmacists walking out of retail stores across the country right now that are fed up with the way that the pharmacy profession has been operating. And at the same time, we have a shortage of functional medicine practitioners. So now is the time to make the leap, join the boot camp, join the membership, and start strengthening those clinical skills so that you're able to help meet the demand for functional medicine practitioners that exists.
All really exciting things. I've made it really clear to people that, you know, our company, the Happy PharmD, is meant to help you get into the career. And we will never, ever train you on clinical stuff. It is not my or anyone on our team's expertise. And if you feel like that is missing, I definitely would recommend checking out Lauren's classes. And I know you're very collaborative. You've already mentioned a bunch of people that are helping you and build this together. What a great resource, because it's going to be people like you. I just want to be the catalyst for people like you to go out there and change the profession. The more people doing this, ultimately, and what I hope for is that people actually take charge of their health and don't rely anymore on these systems that aren't working very well. So more power to you.
Yeah. That's the goal, is change the world, change it through one person at a time, one pharmacist at a time, one patient at a time. And, if there's anything I've really learned over these 8 years in functional medicine, it kind of comes back to what we talked about at the beginning, right? It's like, it's all a journey. There is not a destination. There is no end point for this. You're going to be facing your own health challenges throughout life, just like anyone else, and just like the patients in front of you. And that is where all of this has to start, right? Many people get into functional medicine because of a personal journey. That was mine and my husband's story.
Yeah.
And it became my story as well. Whenever I was dealing with burnout and realized, like, oh crap, my hormones are a wreck because I'm so stressed out and I'm working way too hard and thriving on coffee for breakfast and all the things that I should know better. But until you're actually living it, it's really hard to understand it too. So I think that's, just yet another reason that pharmacists learning a functional medicine approach is going to be so beneficial, because you can implement it in so many different ways, starting with lifestyle and just the very basics, to getting into more advanced topics and running labs and coming up with, protocols and things to treat these underlying root causes that the regular medical system is never going to find. So, yeah, I think it's, yes, it's a great future business model, but do it for yourself, do it for your own health, and to actually help you live the best life that you're able to.
Anything else that you wish we would have talked about?
You can come see me in Costa Rica, November 12th through the 18th. My dear friend Fiorella is hosting a retreat, and I will be there to support.
Okay.
And you can also come hang out in Costa Rica in February. Dates to be determined, but hopefully will be released soon. So follow along at Dr. Lauren Castle on all social media platforms to learn more.
Wow. Wow. What a fun episode. We went deep. We talked about so many amazing things that I love, because she's a kindred spirit. I mean, there's just no getting around it. I hope that you felt inspired. If you feel like there is value in you and you feel like your values are not being practiced in your workplace, then it is time, my friend, to take a look at that and say, I've had enough. It's time for me to find something else. Go out there, start talking with people, get a free career advisory assessment from one of our team members, and get in touch with what matters most to you and how you can better match that into the job marketplace. You got one life to live. I didn't imagine we would talk about death in this podcast, but we did. And you got one chance at this pharmacy career that you have. There's no sense in doing work that you don't really believe in, or you're frustrated by constantly, and you're burned out or tired, or you're just plain up bored. Go and talk with our team. It's free to do so, just like talking with a community pharmacist. And we would absolutely love to help you jumpstart where you need to be at in the marketplace and what you could realistically do to make that happen. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Please like, comment, subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you're listening to the podcast, please subscribe. Consider subscribing. Let us know how we're doing. I always appreciate that kind words that we've received from people. And overall, just thank you for listening. It's so cool. I mean, I'm getting old, and I'm finding more and more of these cool stories in my life from the people that I've gotten to talk with and get to know and help ultimately create this. I don't know if it's going to say on my tombstone, helped create FMPhA, because I really didn't. That was maybe a little catalyst. Who knows? Should have said all this while Lauren was here, but I can go to bed tonight very happy with how this all turned out for today's podcast. And that feels great. And I'd love for you to feel that same way too, about your work, about your career, about who you are as a pharmacist. Thank you so much for listening. And until the next one, we'll see you.